Before we get into this video, I just want to take a quick moment to address the racial injustices that came to an exploding point with the murder of George Floyd, but unfortunately have continued in the US. This has been an especially dark moment in the modern history of this country, aside from the COVID-19 pandemic, and it would be wrong to not address it in some shape, way, or form. As a society, I do believe in my heart that we will all get through this, and the injustices that minorities and especially black people have suffered throughout the decades will be a thing of the past. This won't be a change that will happen overnight, unfortunately, and this will take a lot of work. I intend this, though, to be a positive message of unity, and I stand with those that peacefully march and protest for a positive change for future generations to enjoy and thrive. With all of that said, for anyone watching this video, stay safe, protect yourself as the pandemic is still ongoing, especially if you're participating in any form of activism to bring about positive change in this world, and most of all, stay strong and never give up the fight to see racial injustice become a thing of the past.
Batman, you okay?
I'm fine, Jim. Where's Quinn?
Gone. Must have gotten loose while Bane was throwing you around.
We need to get you off the island.
I'm not a rookie. I can handle myself. I will break you, Batman! Then the Bruja!
No, Bane. This time I break you!
Batman is now en route to Arkham Island.
I suppose Gotham City Police have given up any pretense of actually doing their job, judging by this opening. They acknowledge that Batman is escorting the Joker to Arkham Asylum while they drive past the Batmobile. Joker is only one of the most dangerous men alive, having killed untold hundreds of people by this point and repeatedly broken out of prison. The least the police could do is follow along behind so people can think their tax dollars are being used for something.
The GCPD are already at the asylum awaiting Batman's arrival. The officers that you see not following Batman here could simply be responding to the all units call that you skipped. And let's be real here. What police vehicle is going to be capable of keeping up with Batman anyway?
Having just played Arkham Origins, I know that Arkham Asylum was renovated and reopened after the events of that game to house the worst and most unstable criminals in Gotham, because Blackgate Prison suffered 2 prison riots in one night. So here we have the Joker, having broken out of Arkham Asylum, and not even its first time doing that judging by the audio logs, and all the Blackgate prisoners have been transferred here tonight after a fire. So I'm left wondering, what was even the point of reopening Arkham Asylum?
Freeze, bitch!
And I'm gonna stop you right there. Behold the birth of another cliche. Dartigan answers himself cliche.
I know that Arkham Asylum was renovated and reopened after the events of that game to house the worst and most unstable criminals in Gotham. A beloved experience. It's not like it's difficult to write something new.
A spell check works wonders. FYI.
So Joker broke out of Arkham Asylum, Batman captured him, drove him back to Arkham Asylum, and for some reason just expects it to work out this time.
Annoyingly enough, yes. Batman expected this to be another easy night for him.
Get that filthy degenerate out of here!
Warden, something's not right. I'm going with him.
Batman is famous for being the hero with no superpowers, but I'd argue he's been given some extrajudicial ones judging by the way everyone just acquiesces to his authority. Christ, this would be a nightmare for any prosecutor. Little wonder why Harvey Dent went insane. He had to keep dealing with Batman messing up the justice system which let criminals go on technicalities.
I mean, would you really challenge a 6'2", 200+ pound martial arts master dressed as a bat? Besides, Batman deciding to accompany the Joker as he's committed really is in the best interest of the GCPD and the Arkham staff. Also, there is a point where even Batman's jurisdiction is limited.
Hold it there. Sorry, Batman. Arkham staff only.
I assure you, if anyone's qualified, it's...
Listen, I appreciate the assistance, but he'll unsettle the more violent inmates.
I think he's talking about you, Bats. Don't be a stranger. You're always welcome here.
And wait.
Little wonder why Harvey Dent went insane. He had to keep dealing with Batman messing up the justice system, which let criminals go on technicalities.
Oh, okay. So this is the route that we're going, huh? How is Batman messing with a system that's already fundamentally broken to begin with? And Harvey Dent was driven insane after the incident that made him Two-Face, which he then blamed Batman for.
Multiple prohibited items.
I want Joker searched again.
It's not the patient. It's...
Ooh, would you sneak in with your bats?
I think all the guns the guards are carrying would also trip the scan. Not just Batman's equipment, which speaking of, he's only carrying batarangs and the Batclaw this time. I'm not sure which of those tripped the scan, but it does give me a nice moment to point out how under-equipped Batman is tonight for no other reason than upgrade progression.
Batman is only carrying batarangs and the grappling hook. He gets the Batclaw when he first visits his makeshift Batcave after his fight with Bane. And so what if he's under-equipped? It's part of the game's narrative to show how Batman has to further equip himself to deal with the crisis as it gets progressively worse.
I mean, don't you think it's a little bit funny how a fire at Blackgate caused hundreds of my crew to be moved here?
That would normally be me pointing out just how unseriously they are taking this, but Joker decided to send the game himself and no one, not even Batman, took notice.
Now this sin I do agree with, but to an extent. Yes, the Joker is now spelling out part of his plan, and maybe Batman could have taken a bit more measure as a precaution, but the fact is, Batman isn't omniscient and he is still only a mortal man. He cannot predict every possible outcome all the time. I mean, what could Batman have done by this point to prevent any of it, with Harley Quinn already being in the control room and him not knowing it? And before anyone asks, what about Robin and Nightwing? This brings forth my problem with this version of Batman, and that he probably would have told them to stay in Gotham and Bloodhaven, respectively, and told them he could handle the current situation.
I'm going to assume the staff are trained to deal with violent situations.
Welcome to the madhouse, Batman! I set a trap, and you sprang it gloriously!
Joker's entire plan relied on Batman deciding to tag along as they rolled him down the hallway to a cell. Had Batman got back in the Batmobile after handing Joker off, things would have went a bit awry.
What the hell are you talking about? Even if Batman had left, the Joker simply could have sprung into action in a different way, since as I said before, Harley Quinn was already in the control room. Either way, Batman would have gotten involved.
All of the inmates from Blackgate Prison were transferred to Arkham after a fire tonight, and every one of them are Joker's goons. If this many of Joker's men had already been locked up, then he didn't have much of a criminal empire left, unless the game is telling me that all of them intentionally got themselves sent to prison so they could fulfill Joker's plan.
This guy must not have played this game himself if this is what he thinks is how many henchmen the Joker has working for him.
Why would there be an electric chair in Arkham Asylum? Anyone interred here would have been declared insane, meaning they couldn't be executed for their crimes.
Really sad that I have to point this out, but that chair is for shock therapy, not executions. Remember, this is an asylum, not a prison.
I'm now subbing for the old man.
I would really love to know how Harley managed to sneak into Arkham Asylum where staff would recognize her, seeing as she used to work here, and take Warden Sharp hostage along with complete control of the facility with absolutely no effort.
The answer to the question you're presenting is Frank Bowles.
Joker just took control of Arkham, yet there was a Titan already locked up in the cell that Joker releases. How did no one at Arkham know that one of the doctors here was working on this if you need to store them in massive vaults?
Again, Frank Bowles. I know it may be a little hard to believe that this one seemingly unimportant senior guard has so much influence, but you'd be surprised.
Now stop me if you've heard this one before, but fighting a Titan involves letting it run at Batman, dodging out of the way so it smacks into a wall, and then punching it. I don't think this plan of Joker's to create an army of Titans is that big of a threat. Just fly in some bullfighters from Spain and you have an effective counter strategy.
But no. Thousands of these monstrosities will do a hell of a lot more than charging and running into things.
I've seen Batman jump off a multi-story building to save Joker in Origins. I'm confident he can knock Joker off and still grab him.
I really don't understand this scene at all. You're sinning this scene because Batman didn't throw the Batarang to hit the Joker? You do know also that doing this runs the possibility that the Joker can in fact fall into the pit and die, right?
Mr. J doesn't want you following us just yet.
Harley could have blown that elevator without climbing down to the bottom just so she could ride the counterweight back up and likely kill herself, and Joker knows Batman has a grappling hook. At best, this slows him down by a few minutes.
That's the fucking point, to slow him down. Even a few minutes makes a difference.
I'm used to the moon appearing bigger in fiction for the visual, but that's crossing the line. It looks so close that it would start sweeping up all the artificial satellites.
Just like how I pointed out in my video of his terrible video on Devil May Cry 4, where I questioned if he knew anything about fan service, I guess he's never heard of supermoons either.
For a man famous for being prepared for every possible situation, Batman in this game doesn't live up, leaving his explosive gel in the Batmobile like a normal person would leave their phone on the dash.
Oh, he doesn't live up, does he? So what about the makeshift Batcave he has on the island that not even Oracle knew about? And how could Batman have known beforehand that he was going to need the explosive gel? Do all of his cases and scenarios involve needing to blow things up happen as often as a regular person needing their cell phone? Especially with the warning that it says right here in the scene you show. The f***?
Only Scarecrow.
Batman hears Scarecrow talking, sees this happen, and doesn't take a single measure to protect himself or avoid fear gas. World's best detective, my ass.
More like paying attention, my ass. Here's what you cut out.
Too easy. Oh, think about it. I got you trapped in a little metal box, hanging precariously over a deadly drop. What say I just blow the emergency brakes and drop you like a sack of puppies? Say goodnight, bats. Boom! Only kidding. Got a few more surprises in store for you. Prepare to face your fears. All of them! There is no crane.
How exactly could Batman have avoided this?
I'm guessing fear gas can be made from regular household cleaners, because Scarecrow managed to cook up a batch while being locked up inside Arkham. For some reason, they also let him wear his outfit. I never got the impression that Arkham was that accommodating.
There's so much wrong in this statement that garners at least 5 cents here. First off, no one gives a f*** about what concoctions make up the fear gas. That would boggle down the game considerably if the game literally paused to give you a lesson on how that shit is made. Next, the explanations that matter, however, are some of the other things you point out. Frank Bowles had a hand once again in Scarecrow being allowed out of his cell to make his plans involving setting up a secret lair under an elevator. He did this because he knew about the Joker planning his takeover of Arkham Island. And finally, the Scarecrow was likely released from his cell when the Joker took over, and he could have gotten his outfit from the said secret lair.
Since Batman knows Scarecrow is running around the asylum, how about doing what he does in every other game and analyze the compounds to make an antidote, or request a gas mask at the very least? Instead, he will brush the entire sequence off like nothing happened until it happens again, and then a third time after that.
You're kind of asking a lot from Batman here. Yes, maybe a gas mask could help tons here, but analyzing the compounds to make an antidote I can imagine is pretty difficult to do since although Batman has breathed them in, it could take a lot of time. This would mean needing to get blood samples and a lot of experimenting. Batman kind of has his hands full already, and his priority is the Joker after all.
Cut me down.
Who did this to you?
Dr. Young, the Bruja. She drained the venom from my blood.
Bane's body doesn't produce venom as far as I'm aware. Wouldn't they just need to suck it out of the tank he carries on his back?
It's not just venom that they were after. Dr. Young specifically needed Bane as venom perfectly assimilated with him.
If you've ever thrown a water balloon at a wall before, you have a pretty good idea what should have just happened to Batman.
The Batsuit prevented what should have happened to Batman.
All of these years later, and Bane still hasn't learned to do anything but run straight at Batman. I've always found Bane boring as a character, but it shouldn't be that hard to design a better boss fight around the guy.
Wasn't a huge glaring issue for me, but the fact that this shares similarities with the Titan henchmen still make this a solid point.
I will break you, Batman! Then the Bruja!
No, Bane. This time I break you!
When I originally played this game, I thought they were referring to the time when Bane broke Batman's back, but that never happened in the Arkham series, so I have no idea what Batman is even referring to.
That did happen in what fans of this series call the Arkhamverse. In fact, Batman's dialogue pretty much confirms it.
No, Bane. This time I break you!
Batman summons the Batmobile to knock Bane into the bay. However, the Batmobile would have had to crash through a locked gate to reach this area, and the gate is still intact.
This is another legit point, another sin removed. What path did the Batmobile take?
A Batcave on Arkham Island?
I built it years ago. It's best to plan ahead for situations like this.
How'd you manage to keep this a secret?
It's me, remember?
But Arkham Asylum was only opened a few years ago. Batman would have had to build the Batcave under it during the renovation, and Oracle used to be Batgirl. How would she be unaware of an alternative Batcave?
Okay, first off, you get a sin for this typo since your speech doesn't match, and what you actually say makes the first part of your sin even more ridiculous since Arkham Asylum was established years ago. Second, Batman said he's been transferring materials to this location for years, ever since he first discovered the cave system when he prevented a suicide attempt.
What's the deal with Dead Man's Point? It's been a favorite suicide location in Arkham Island for over 100 years.
Yeah, I know. I once saved an unfortunate inmate from leaping off into the rocks below. I found a cave entrance and over the years have moved a number of supplies here. It's a regular home away from home.
And third, even though it's obvious going by the dialogue, Batman kept it a secret from even his closest allies. That's how Oracle was unaware.
I built it years ago. It's best to plan ahead for situations like this.
How'd you manage to keep this a secret?
It's me, remember?
So do you think Dr. Young's been experimenting with Venom? The same chemical that turns Bane into that animal?
Yes, I'm worried. Bane seemed even more powerful than usual.
Bane was a lot weaker than the last time you fought him at Blackgate. Batman couldn't even confront him directly at the end.
Batman is referring to the last time he fought him chronologically, which was not in that game.
Killer Croc's lair is only a stone's throw away from the Batcave.
Thanks for pointing that out. Now why is that a sin again?
According to her bank records, there have been multiple payments starting last April until 2 months ago. Then nothing. The payments came from a company owned by Mr. Jack White.
One of Joker's oldest aliases. So, Joker pays Dr. Young to create his army, and then all of a sudden he stops.
Joker was paying Dr. Young to create the Titan formula using Bane's venom, until Dr. Young had a change of heart and stopped taking his money and responding. And instead of kidnapping her and forcing her to hand over the research, he decided to get himself sent to Arkham, along with all the prisoners in Blackgate, so he could get the Titan formula and create an army of Titans here.
Okay, we've reached a new level of absurdity here. This guy just explained Joker's entire reasoning for this plot happening and sinned the game for it. Don't you realize that the Joker taking control of the asylum, freeing the inmates that have been committed, and having his henchmen all over the island creates a big enough disturbance and distraction for Batman to focus on while Joker accomplishes what he wanted done before?
You want something done? Do it yourself. Yeah.
Here's Crime Alley again, courtesy of Scarecrow's fear gas. A grown man like Bruce Wayne still crying over his parents who have been dead for decades at this point doesn't make me feel for him.
This may be a fictional character, and this may be a game, but that's a pretty shitty thing to say. 50 sins gladly awarded.
Monster, you evil, evil, evil monster!
I'm beginning to see why the psychologists at Arkham have a hard time treating the mental illnesses of their patients.
But since you won't bother to share this opinion, what was the point of even saying all of this bullshit?
I tried to give him his money back.
Why did you ever agree to it in the first place? You work in an insane asylum and understand Joker well enough to know that giving him a formula that would allow him to create an army of Banes would be a pretty bad idea.
That wasn't Dr. Young's idea. Although the methods she utilized were most certainly highly questionable, like using Bane as a test subject against his will, her idea for Titan is explained right here.
Let me introduce you all to the sterling work of our new head of research, Dr. Penelope Young. Since joining our team 2 years ago, Arkham is now at the forefront of research into understanding the human mind.
Good afternoon, Arkham. Let's talk about the mind. How can such a complex entity be understood and eventually treated when it breaks? How indeed? Project Titan's goal is to create a testbed to fully probe our special cases in a safe, risk-free manner. Our goal is to cure the more unfortunate specimens, the weak, those not physically up to the challenge that our medical practices present. Project Titan will make us a world-class facility, an award-winning facility.
Also, clearly you didn't listen to all of the interview tapes that you can find in the game, since you're questioning why the doctor would accept payments from the Joker.
I've been a fool. Joker was behind it all. He's Jack White. He gave me the money, pulled the strings to release Bane. How could I not have seen it? He's been blackmailing me. He has a crazy plan to create an army of monsters. I want out, but... Hello? Hello? Dr. Young's office.
Please hold for Mr. White.
What?
Hello, Doc. We need to talk.
I'm not doing it, Joker. Do you hear me? Wait. How did you get access to a phone?
Oh, yes. Sorry, Doc. Had to split. I hate small, confined spaces. Reminds me of my childhood.
Another lie?
Who knows? I certainly don't, but let's not get distracted with details. So, anyway, I want my monsters.
I sent you back the money. I don't want it.
Do I look like I care about money? I just want my monsters, Doc. And if you don't give them to me, well then, it won't be funny.
God, he has gallons of the stuff.
If Joker already had his hands on gallons of Titan formula, why did he have his men spend so much time looking for Dr. Young and her formula? And why wasn't Dr. Young concerned about Joker getting his hands on the Titan formula that had already been produced?
Wasn't it? Well, note to self, need stronger test subjects.
That's why.
I give the game props for hiding its sequel bait in a hidden room inside the game rather than sticking it at the end of the credits, but then the after credits bait a sequel anyway.
You probably should have removed this in here due to how well this clue was hidden. Also, why do your subtitles not match what you say?
But then the after credits bait a sequel anyway.
If you're going to copy what CinemaSins does, shouldn't you go all the way and not half-ass it?
Poison Ivy is the only female prisoner in Arkham, and they locked her up inside a glass cell surrounded by crazed male lunatics who probably haven't seen a woman in years, let alone one who's half-naked and secretes pheromones that drive men wild. This would classify as cruel and unusual punishment in a civilized country.
Do you really think the supervillain that can mind control men, as you see later in the game, and has control over plant life, has anything to worry about as far as being intimidated by someone who isn't Batman?
I wonder what happens to Poison Ivy's leaf panties in the fall and winter.
Didn't you send Arkham City before this game? That would imply you played and paid attention to it, therefore you know Poison Ivy wears a very similar outfit in the sequel, and that the game takes place in the winter. Dartigan feigns ignorance cliché.
Hands off the merchandise! That's my party list!
Batman isn't above copping a feel when the opportunity presents itself.
So according to Dartigan, using a couple of fingers to grab a piece of paper located inside a woman's bra, and I'm going to pause for effect here because this dude even slows down the scene to show it, is copping a feel.
Batman visits every part of Arkham during this game, and he never runs across most of the people on the party list, even still inside of a cell. Also, if we're respecting the series lore, somewhere in Arkham is Jason Todd right now, and Joker never considered using him against Batman during all of this. Imagine had he turned Jason into a Titan to fight Batman at the end.
Batman does not visit every section of Arkham Island. There's the extreme isolation section that you see the Joker enter after the first Titan henchman boss fight, which the player cannot access.
Quick, get in here before more of them come. It came out of nowhere. I dragged Jerry in here, powered up the gate. Must have passed out.
Joker went through that door. What's on the other side?
We call it extreme isolation. Only way in is via the transport system.
And so what if you don't see all of the characters on the party list? Haven't you ever heard of the term less is more? Also, you did the same thing in your Uncharted video, and you're doing the same bullshit here. Arkham Asylum was released in 2009, while Arkham Knight was released in 2015. Not only that, Rocksteady made the foolish mistake, among others, to not make sure Paul Dini was the writer of this game like he was of Asylum and City. What is the point of mentioning plot details of a game that was not even conceived until after the first sequel of this game? That's worth 5 sins.
I would ask why Arkham has such a huge botanical garden, but I'm more interested in knowing why it has hanging medieval-style cages inside of it.
The Botanical Gardens is said to be the oldest structure on this island, along with the Arkham Mansion, and it's based on old Gothic Victorian-era architecture. That would explain the medieval-style cages and the gargoyle statues, among other things.
Adding a second Titan doesn't change the fact that it's the same fight. Allow the Titan to run at Batman, jump out of the way so they run into the wall, repeat.
Oh, is that right? What about the fact that you can use one of the Titans to smack the hell out of the other Titan? That throws a monkey wrench in your statement of this being the same fight.
I have a sample of her pheromone signature on record. She'll be somewhere in the gardens. I'll track her down.
Master Wayne, when and why exactly did you have Mr. Lucius Fox design you a device for sniffing out female pheromones? That's quite specific.
So you're asking, why is Batman trying to find a specific way to always be able to track one of his most powerful enemies? Anyone else find this incredibly rhetorical?
There's a plant growing deep in Arkham Island. Only it can counter the effects of this Titan strain.
Where do I find it?
Oh, in Killer Croc's lair.
That is a miracle then. Venom isn't produced in Gotham, and the plants Dr. Young created with the Venom to manufacture Titan are brand new. So why would a plant growing underground in a sewer have the ability to neutralize a compound it has no reason to neutralize? Poison Ivy is starting to sound more like that girl from high school you know who is selling essential oils as a cure-all on her Facebook page rather than a supercriminal.
I'm no botanist, but I suspect neither are you. However, Poison Ivy is. That, and the fact that she now has a better and more direct understanding of plant life, I think qualifies her in knowing what the fuck she's talking about more than you on this subject.
They don't call you Ivy for nothing, do they, dear? I was hoping for a 40-foot killer plant, but you don't always get what you want, do you?
Joker shoots Ivy with a double dose of Titan, but instead of bulking out, it just lets her do what she's always been capable of, control plants. And for some reason, she doesn't kill Joker, even though he would have to be in the same room with her to shoot her with the dart. And finally, I'm pretty certain Poison Ivy is immune to all toxins, so Titan shouldn't do jack squat to her.
Oh boy, this is starting to get tiring. First, Joker, yes, injected Poison Ivy with Titan, but this didn't cause any severe mutations on the outside. Her abilities, however, were supercharged on a grand scale, as her plants were now strong enough to take over the entire island. If she was this powerful and capable as you're saying, then why didn't she do this before? Second, the Joker's crazy, but not stupid. If he did shoot her with the Titan dart, he could have immediately vacated the premises before Poison Ivy could really react, as she was probably adapting to her new increase in chlorokinesis. Besides, her beef is mostly with Batman, in case you forgot, and she does say she'll be going after the Joker after she's done with Batman. Third, another load of bullshit, and really shows just how pitiful your research is into this particular source material. It's never brought into the forefront, but Poison Ivy did suffer an overdose like the Joker subsequently did, and in fact almost died from it. This was revealed in an Arkham City story from Batman Arkham City, which you sinned before this game.
This time Scarecrow's gas triggers insanity effects lifted straight from Eternal Darkness, like pretending the game crashed. But considering this is Batman's nightmare, why would he be imagining himself inside of a video game?
I'll let Simon Phoenix handle this one again.
Fuck you.
Even in Batman's nightmare, he has to repeat the Bane boss fight again.
That's not exactly true. Yes, he is actually fighting a Titan henchman who appears as a skeleton bigger than the others, but this fight is significantly shorter this time around. All you need to do is throw one batarang at it, and when it crashes, it's defeated. There's no rinse and repeat tactics here, unlike the other Titan fights, and Bane's boss battle.
How are you doing this?
This is Scarecrow's third time dosing Batman with fear gas, and he is only now surprised that Batman is resilient to it.
How do you know he wasn't surprised before? This is the first time we actually see Scarecrow outside of a dream sequence confronting Batman, meaning we don't know exactly how he reacted when he realized he failed the first 2 times.
You've ingested enough toxins to drive dead men insane!
Ingested is the wrong word. Inhaled and being injected were the causes.
Hey, I'm not sure if you're aware of this, Dartigan, but there's a fabulous website on the internet that's called Google. It allows you to search for a nigh infinite number of websites and sources that offer critical and correct data that answers questions and offers important information for research purposes. As an example, I decided to look up the meaning of the word ingested. Take a look at what I found.
One step closer, and this goes into the water. The cave will fill with your deepest, darkest nightmares.
So dropping that bag into the water will somehow contaminate the area so thoroughly that this time it will surely drive Batman insane, when the other 3 times it didn't.
It's pretty apparent that thinking Dartigan would look into something before he attempts to criticize it isn't a strong trait of his. What the Scarecrow is holding in that bag are the toxins in their purest form that help create his fear gas. I'm no chemist, but the Scarecrow is. And what he's illustrating here is that the toxins mixing in with all of the water in the sewers that has a ton of water in it will make the subsequent contamination so strong that it'd be the equivalent of dropping a huge bomb of fear gas. Batman was only injected with the stronger dose of the fear toxin once, so honestly, he's been lucky up to this point.
And you will never reach your precious venom roots.
How does Scarecrow know Batman is after plants down here in the sewers? Batman never discussed that with anyone but Poison Ivy.
This is actually a good question. It's never been openly addressed in the games, but it's hinted strongly that the Joker keeps in contact with the Scarecrow. This is actually revealed in the novelization of Batman Arkham Knight, another game you've already covered, by the way. Anyway, if the novelization is anything to go by, we learn that before the Joker dies in the conclusion of Arkham City, he had worked with the Scarecrow several times. The way this would translate to Arkham Asylum would be that the Joker learned about Batman trying to make a cure through Poison Ivy before he injected her with Titan, and the Joker subsequently passed that information to the Scarecrow.
Scarecrow survives this.
I'd like to once again point out that Dartigan has sinned Batman Arkham Knight, where Scarecrow is the main antagonist, before sinning this game. Does anyone else see how pointless this sin is?
The repeated Bane fights were bad enough, but Killer Croc is just a slow crawl through the sewers and hitting him with batarangs whenever he pops up, and then it turns into a Crash Bandicoot level at the end. Batman fought Killer Croc on a rooftop in Origins, but now he's a bigger threat than Bane.
I get the criticism for the long drawn-out repetition in this section, but I'm sinning you for saying repeated Bane fights. You only fight Bane once, and each of the Titan henchmen fights had at least one detail that made each encounter unique. Also,
Batman fought Killer Croc on a rooftop in Origins, but now he's a bigger threat than Bane.
Okay, so why is that a bad thing? Killer Croc being more dangerous than Bane is kind of a given since he's in an environment surrounded by water, and if he does catch Batman, it's an instant game over. Batman is at a disadvantage here.
How close are you to making the cure?
Close. It's been more difficult than I expected.
If it only takes you minutes to synthesize a cure for a mutagenic compound, then it couldn't have been that difficult.
He was talking about the third Scarecrow encounter and having to deal with Killer Croc just to get to the spores, genius.
I'm at the main sewer junction, and it appears to be polluted with Titan.
Arkham Asylum isn't very long, and generally has tight pacing, but even good games sometimes pad the runtime. That's why here, at the end of the game, Batman is running around a sewer shutting off water valves.
Amazing! Coming from the guy who pads the runtime on his videos by feigning ignorance, misrepresenting character motivations, manipulating scenes, failing to do proper research on a source material, and making up lies that never happen in a game. Not like how I padded the length of this sin to get my point across because...
Have you noticed that every villain Batman fights in this game gets dropped down a hole or into water? Bane, Scarecrow, Killer Croc, and now Poison Ivy have all been taken out the same way, which leads me to believe Batman should consider investing in trapdoors.
Shit, he's right here. Even the Joker gets knocked down a hole and gets swept up into the Pacific Ocean. I guess I should remove a sin here, huh?
Here's a double Titan fight. You know, that boss fight we had previously. There's no differences here. Just use the same tactic for the 1000th time and you're golden.
For fuck's sake, enough with repeating the same fucking sin to pad this ridiculous video. You're wrong again, by the way. The difference in this fight as opposed to the first time you fight two Titan henchmen is that this time you also fight the Joker's non-Titan henchmen all at the same time.
You deserve a prize. Your old pal, Commissioner.
Just how? Did I miss a call from Oracle that explained that Gordon came back to Arkham Asylum and was captured?
You could have just left it at the just how part, but then you had to open a can of worms. Do you really think that Oracle wouldn't have told Batman if she knew?
Please welcome our special guest referee!
Gordon was hanging by a chain seconds ago when Joker shot himself with a Titan dart. Now Gordon is somehow in an electric chair on the roof after Joker dragged Batman up here.
Have you considered the possibility that the Joker probably set everything up, including Gordon in the chair, before he brought Batman up to the roof? After all, you skipped the scene that says 10 minutes passed.
Asylum remains under lockdown. Its staff at the mercy of the rampaging inmates. Just 10 minutes ago, we received this taped message. Greetings, Gotham! Joker here! Arkham is mine! Soon I'll unleash madness untold onto the streets of Gotham. But first, direct your eyes to the rooftops and witness the final destruction of your dear Dark Knight.
You know you want to. Never. You wasted the antidote on yourself?
I agree with Joker. Batman was resisting the change and he could have saved himself a fight if he'd injected Joker instead.
Jesus Christ! Batman was only delaying the inevitable. He would have turned sooner or later if he didn't take the cure. This also would have likely compromised his secret identity, as the resulting transformation would have likely torn apart his cowl.
Come to think of it, how could Batman even know the cure would work? That normally requires years of human and animal testing to prove. If the Batcomputer can design drugs and cures in minutes, then Batman is holding out on doing a lot of good for the world.
How could Batman have known that the cure would work? Is that a serious question? That might stem from this scene.
Close. It's been more difficult than I expected. The process is slow, difficult, and doesn't produce much antidote.
And the good news?
The chemical will definitely stop Ivy. It may also reverse the Titan transformation. I need to run some more tests to be sure.
No one ever said they loved this game for the boss fights, and it's easy to see why. Even the final battle against Joker is the game's most disappointing moment, despite
And I'm gonna stop you right there because this shit goes on for too damn long. Sin removal for yes, pointing out this anticlimactic end boss fight, and skip the rest.
I wish I could have done that exploding gel on the fist move against all the other Titans. Could have made those fights a lot more interesting.
Motherfucker, do you not see what it did to Batman's arm? He's lucky he could use that arm still after that roundhouse punch.
And the venom-enhanced inmates are returning to normal. Though for some, the process can be quite painful.
Any one dose with Titan goes back to normal after a short while. What was the point of developing a cure for it then?
Well, I for one personally wouldn't want to see my bones visible on the outside. But that's just me. Clearly you wouldn't mind.
The Second National Bank was just robbed by Harvey Dent.
Harvey Dent was one of the names on Joker's party list along with his cell number, meaning he should have been locked up in Arkham, yet he's in Gotham robbing a bank right now.
He escaped when the Joker took over the asylum.
It baits a sequel, but Scarecrow doesn't matter again until Arkham Knight, which was the fourth game, so delayed sequel baiting.
The character who grabs the crate can be Scarecrow, Bane, or Killer Croc. They're chosen by how many times you lose against them in the game. And to top this off, Dartigan uses knowledge of a future sequel cliche, and Dartigan repeats a sin to pad the sin counter cliche.
They'll just die if anything happens.
Hey everyone, OmegaBlackHeart here once again. I really want to thank my growing fan base for their continued support of my channel. It really means a lot to me that you guys are helping me achieve a lifelong dream. If you guys are new to my channel, or even if you are already subscribed, be sure to hit that little bell next to the subscribe button to get notified of everything that I post on my channel. As more features open up to me, I'll be sharing more with you all, and this might include polls to help me improve and make better content for you guys. Stay safe everyone, take care of those around you, and I'll see you guys on my next installment.